is 7 o'clock, so we can start the recording.
It's already on.
Thank you. It's Wednesday, March 3rd. Welcome, everyone, to our Wednesday night midweek oasis service here at Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. My name's Paul. I'll be your host tonight, and we have a wonderful speaker. Reverend Sally's going to speak for us tonight and impart some wisdom on us. And yay for that. I can go for a little wisdom here and there. So hello, church family. And our Wednesday night service is designed to be informal, intimate, and rich. We tend to have speakers that like to speak on a subject, and then we open it up for discussion, and that's what Reverend Sally's going to do tonight. Our annual theme is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision for 2021. And tonight is the first actual church service of the new month. So we have a new theme, and Reverend Sally will be introducing that. And it's called Open to Possibilities. And that's our theme for the month of March. And we're also recognizing that it's Women's History Month. So we'll have a lot of stuff around that connected to our Open to Possibilities theme for the month. I don't see anybody new, but I welcome you anyways. If someone new drops in, I'll have some information for you during the announcements. And know that you will be muted if you're not already, if you can mute your camera and your microphone by our Zoom team, because that will improve the quality of our transmission. So that's all my opening announcements and statements to ground us. Reverend Sally is one of our staff ministers here at the Oakland Center. She teaches classes. She is probably the most creative, busy girl I know, making all kinds of things. In her background, she has a beautiful Afghan she just finished. You can see it on her couch there. She's quite a crafter and a needle worker and does beautiful work. So Sally is just well-rounded in a lot of departments, and we're so glad she's here tonight. So Reverend Sally, we're a little early. I'm going to turn it over to you and ask you to open us up in prayer, and then we'll launch right into your topic.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate everyone's being here this evening. Let's begin with prayer, as Paul said. So I invite you to close your eyes and turn within. As we turn into that heart space, I recognize that there is one power, one presence, one divine intelligence, one being. It is that which lives in, through, and as everything. It is truth. It is eternal. It is love, it is joy, it is peace. It is the ground of all being, open and receptive, guiding and guarding and uplifting. God is. And knowing that I am of it, that my life is an expression of it, as is the life of every beloved on this call, whether they're here now or listening at some later time. God is each. And so I bless this evening. I bless our exploration of questions. I bless our time together. I bless the fact that we are opening up with receptive minds and hearts to that impress of spirit and saying yes. And so I close this prayer by saying, and so it is. For those of you who are with us earlier this evening for the meditation, we kind of went into the meditation with a question of what is God? And so this evening, it's going to be kind of interactive. I'm going to ask you to take a minute or two right now to make sure you've got pen and paper ready, because we will be doing a visioning at some point during this evening. And we're doing that so that we can explore some questions. And in exploring those questions, we are going to dive deep into that divine wisdom that Paul talked about that is present in each of us. It is here, it is now, it is deep within us. And this evening, we will be sharing and discussing what it is and how it shows up. Albert Einstein was once asked, "What is the most important question that you can ask in life?" And he answered, "Is the universe a friendly place or not?" So, what I'd like to know, and I'd invite you to consider this evening, is have you ever really paid attention to the questions that you ask yourself in any given day? Maybe if you've taken classes with us, you've paid focused attention to your thoughts throughout the day. And if you have, you know that it can be kind of interesting and sometimes scary seeing and hearing those thoughts and those questions as they go through your mind. You're listening to that internal voice, you know, that one that's sometimes whispering to you, other times talking to you, yammering at you, or maybe even yelling at you to do, you get it. It's in your head and you hear it. So tonight, I'm giving you a call to action early. Here's your homework. It's like a class. For the next week, I encourage you to pay attention to all that your internal voice is saying to you, especially the questions that you ask yourself. And then to help you really catch those thoughts and questions, I encourage you to jot them down, journal, record them, get your cell phone out and speak them into your cell phone so that you can capture them. And then later, I'm going to ask you to go back and journal your responses to those questions. So what kind of questions might come up? Well, I know for me, there are times when the question that comes up all the time, it feels like, is why does this keep happening to me? The other day, I was going through a day where everything I touched seemed to fall on the ground. It just dropped right out of my hands. My cell phone, my books, whatever it was falling on the ground. So of course that question came up. Why does this keep happening to me? If you pay attention to how often that kind of question comes up for you and in what circumstances those questions come up, you may find that you're operating out of what we call victim consciousness in those times. And I would venture to guess that you might not even be aware you're doing that until you start paying attention to those questions and that voice in your head. Now, we just finished up the visioning class, and we talked about this idea of the four kingdoms of consciousness in that class. And this idea, four kingdoms of consciousness, it was outlined by Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith. And the four kingdoms that he talked about are victim or to me consciousness, manifester or by me consciousness, and channel or through me consciousness, and oneness or what I call the Christ consciousness as me. So these ideas of four different kingdoms, they help us to see the types of questions that we are asking ourselves. In the victim consciousness, as I said, most often the questions are along the line of, why me? Why is this happening to me? Now, in the manifestor consciousness, we're starting to understand the law of attraction and how we can use our thoughts to change what we're attracting into our lives. And so we might be asking better questions at that point, like, what is it that I want from life? What am I drawn to? This is the manifestor consciousness. Now, in the channel or through me consciousness, the types of questions that we're asking are, how can I be more aligned with spirit? How can I get myself, my bloated nothingness, out of the way so that spirit can work through me as a channel? And in the Christ or the oneness consciousness, we find ourselves recognizing that it's all God. It's all good. And we are staying in alignment with that and flowing from that space. So tonight, we're going to begin exploring this monthly theme of opening to possibilities. And as Paul said, March is Women's History Month. And throughout the Sundays, at least, we'll be using quotes from influential women of New Thought. Now, you may have already received the readings for the month, and if you have not, please send me an email and I'll be happy to share them with you, or we can have Constance or Zoe. I know both of you have received the readings. Maybe you can share them in the chat this evening too. This week, this Sunday and tonight, we're talking about the topic of living in the question, a high idea. Like any good religious scientist, I love questions, and I bet you do too. And that's one reason why I am drawn to religious science. And I've said it before, I love practicing these principles through questions. And one way, I mentioned it earlier, is to use the practice of visioning. Visioning is the opening up to the impress of spirit through a practice of asking questions. And this helps us to tap into the realm of possibilities that are much greater than we can even begin to imagine for ourselves. And we do this by using direct questions. So, as we do this, as I ask the questions and we go forward a little later on, what I want you to keep in mind is the fact that our brains, they are naturally equipped to provide answers to every question or problem that we put in front of it. And our brains fill in the blanks based on our intentions, our past, and our subconscious beliefs. This is Science of Mind 101 right here. And there was a study done, and I neglected to get which study it was or where it was, but the study asked the individuals to count the number of blue dots and angry faces that they saw in a presentation. The crazy thing was that what the study revealed was that even when there were no blue dots and no angry faces in the materials presented, the participants, some of them, they still saw blue dots and angry faces. This is because our brains fill in the blanks. So, what questions are you feeding your brain? Ernest tells us, it is impossible for you to receive that which your mind refuses to accept. If you desire to receive more, you must mentally encompass it. You make your life small and limit its possibilities when you refuse to accept the whole gift of God. As you open your consciousness to a greater receptivity to the divine, to an enlarged concept of the good that can flood your experience, well, life will take on a new and wonderful meaning. When we ask good questions and we open ourselves up to the possibilities of those answers, we are taking on a life that's more wonderful and has deeper meaning. So, what does it mean to be open to possibilities? Well, let's do an exercise. Everybody ready? Get yourself seated, shake out your hands for yourself, and now lift one hand, doesn't matter which one, lift your hand and make a tight fist. Now feel the energy and whether or not it's flowing within your hand. Focus on that feeling for a minute. Can you feel it? Now, very slowly, open your hand and feel what happens. Do you feel the energy moving, opening up and out? That sense of flow is what you might feel in your body, likely in your heart space, when you are open to the possibilities in your life. So let me share a story. And you may have heard this before from me, but it's worth sharing again. It's about a time when I definitely felt that divine flow in my heart. It was early morning, and I remember talking with Spirit. I used to call him the man upstairs. So I was having a conversation as I was getting myself ready. It was the 25th of February, 36 years ago. And I was preparing to go to jury duty. It was a good morning. And, at one point I sat down and I felt called to declare to Spirit that, okay, God, I am open to new possibilities. What are the new possibilities that you have for me this day? I was feeling uplifted and positive, and I knew that whatever the answer was, it would be good, really good for me. I think my dog is in agreement. Anyway, that morning, I first met my husband, Dave. And I am grateful that I allowed myself to open and be available to the good that Spirit had in store for me. What about you? Does it feel good to think about open possibilities? What does it feel like in your body? Does your mind get all tense? Does your heart start to pound, or does it feel open and flowing when you think about open possibilities? Does the thought of possibilities raise worries about problems? If so, I've got some good news. As Roger Teal, the former senior minister of Mile High Church, says, and this is a quote, locked inside every problem are possibilities hankering to get out. Every problem is an opportunity of some sort. Just like the two sides of a coin are always present and always complement each other, so a problem always is united with its eventual solution. So, what are some good questions to ask yourself? Well, this is where the process of visioning comes in. It's a wonderful spiritual process, spiritual practice that we can use to explore some. It's a meditative process, and I think I'd like to take you guys through it now. So go ahead and get yourselves comfortable, have your pen and paper ready, and I will take you in to the visioning. I invite you to open your heart and your mind. You can close your eyes during this process. And as you're opening your heart and your mind, I invite you to recall a moment when you felt joy, love, safety, all is right with the world. Allow that feeling to flood you. Sit in that wonderful flow of love and joy and safety for a moment. And now, using your imagination, expand that feeling 10 times. And now 100 times. Allow it to grow so that all you feel and are aware of is that joy, that love, that sense of safety. And now allow your mind to entertain and fill in the blanks of these questions. And I'll put them in the chat for you later. What is God's highest idea of itself as me and my life? Allow whatever responses come to you to surface. Simply notice. You may receive a color, a scent. You may notice sounds. That's all part of the response. You may have a feeling in your body. Simply notice how the question, what is God's highest idea of itself as me and my life, is responded to. As we continue with the next questions, recognize that it's okay to simply be in a meditative space, open and available to responses. So the next question is, what must I become to live this highest idea? This question of becoming it's a matter of how am I to embody this high idea? And again, the responses may come as images, sounds, taste, scents. Be open and receptive to whatever reveals itself. And the third question that we have is, what must I release? What must I let go of? And in this question, we're recognizing that sometimes we need to make room for the new. So we're asking Spirit, what must I let go of? Now the fourth question asks us, what do we already have? What gifts and talents do I already possess that I can use in service to this vision? In the Bible, we're taught that those who have, more shall be given, and to those who have not, even that which they have will be taken away. And so this question asks us to pay attention and to acknowledge what we have so that more can be given. What gifts and talents do I already possess that I can use in service to this vision? So as we bring these questions to a close, I want to give thanks. I give thanks for all that has been revealed tonight, and I give thanks for all that will be revealed in the course of the next few weeks, recognizing that in spirit there is no time. So these answers may reveal themselves at any time. So as we bring this meditation to a close, I invite you to give thanks. I invite you to say to yourself the word yes. And in saying that yes, you are accepting whatever comes from this visioning. So I invite you to go ahead and open your eyes, maybe take a moment or two to capture some of what came up for you during this visioning process. And I don't know if the sentences have already been captured into the chat, but eventually I'll give you those sentences. So as I bring this talking portion to a close, I want to share with you a little bit of information from Viktor Frankl. And I know on Wednesday nights we've talked about Viktor Frankl before, but what I found in David Brooks' book, The Second Mountain, is a little snippet that tells us a little bit more about Viktor Frankl. And he says that when the psychoanalyst Viktor Frankl was about 13, a teacher of his declared that all of life is nothing but a process of material combustion. Well, Frankl, he leapt up and he declared, "Sir, if this is so, what then can be the meaning of life?" He was really rankled on this, right? It really jarred him, that question. And he was so intensely preoccupied with this question at a young age that he actually struck up a correspondence with Sigmund Freud. And as a young therapist, Frankl set up suicide prevention centers in Vienna. And he invented methods to give people who were on the verge of self-destruction a way to find meaning in their lives. He realized that the career questions, what do I want from my life and what can I do to make myself happy? Well, those aren't the right questions. The real question is, what is life asking of me? So, as we move into the rest of this week, I invite you to explore the question, what is God's highest idea of itself as me and my life? And you can use this week's affirmation as your initial response to get the flow started. And that affirmation is, my life is the embodiment of Spirit's highest idea of itself as me. And so it is. And so now what I would like to do as we move into this discussion time, there we go. We got the manifester. Let me give you the questions. As we move into this discussion time, what I'd like to know is the answers that you've received to the questions, what must I become to live this highest idea? And or what must I release? So if someone can help me recognize who's got their hands up or who has a question, we can begin the discussion. You can turn on your video and unmute yourself so that we can take your questions. And Peggy's going to help me look to see who's got their hands up and is asking. Margot, I can see that you've got your video on and you're unmuted. Do you have something to share with us?
I don't think so. I'm still percolating here.
Perfect. And percolating is a good thing. All right. I can see Judith has got her video on and she's got herself unmuted. I can't hear you if you're talking though, Judith.
I wasn't.
Okay.
But I could. I think I have a desire to do visioning perfectly, so it becomes a challenge.
Mm.
I want to do it right. I want to make sure I have color. I want to make sure that it's a little bit of an obstacle. But what must I become? And I think it feels like it's a gift from Spirit to that this should still continue to be part of it, because there is it's more ethereal. What must I become is I want to be someone who releases the idea of I can't.
Mm.
When I imagine things, there's something in my head that wants to say, I can't. And I've been working on it for a long time and I'm still working on it. But I did, that actually is the what must I release. That comes under that. And what must I become is I just want to become more of myself. And there's some ways that things are, I'm taking steps in my life and it just came out that I just want to do more of what I am already doing. So.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. These are deep and interesting questions, and I encourage you to be with the question that you have around what you can't do and I can't do it. Remember what Roger Teal says, that for every problem, I can't do this, there is the other side that is the solution, the I can. So for every I can't, there is the I can. And so you can explore for yourself, maybe in journaling, what is that I can? Anyone else would like to share? It's a quiet group. Sage?
So thank you so much for these really amazing questions. Oh my gosh, I'm also still percolating, and I think I might have needed to take a little coffee break before the visioning began because it was just like downloads of information. And and I'm really grateful for the practice because, and the way you explained it was just perfect. With the What Must I Become, I actually had a pretty kind of visceral and visual image of what was like clay and putty and kind of like this, like, yeah, when you're making a beautiful piece of pottery and you put it in, to be baked and whatnot, but before that, right, you've got this stuff that you're working with. And so I had this, it was visual and also visceral, of just being more adaptable and flexible and going with the flow and having more flow, right? And it sounds really simple, but it's also just absolutely incredible when that's embodied and when that's understood in a different way. So thank you. I'm still percolating, and I'm also really delighted to use this tool more. And yeah, and I look forward to more of the visuals and more of the images and more of the colors and showing up, and then eventually putting it in the oven and letting it bake itself and arise in my life.
Thank you, Sage. And these questions, they will continue to work you if you let them, right? It's all about your willingness to open up to the possibilities that these questions reveal. And it's okay. We've, in our visioning class, one of the questions that came up was, is it my mind or is it spirit, right? That's giving me these responses, that's giving me these questions, these answers. And what I would tell you is it's all God. It's all God. So whether it's the little egoic mind coming forward and putting in its 2 cents to fill in the blank, or if it's spirit, the divine, the greater mind, it's all God. Either way.
Well,
Anyone
and
else?
sorry to chime in there, but that would also go into the channeling, right? In terms of perspective and orientation. And so I feel like that was really insightful, knowing like which layer of questioning am I engaging in, and kind of opening up to, and maybe that was part of the putty, right? Like these different levels of engagement with these questions, and um how each question impacts what it is that I'm calling in, or um, what I'm hoping to be experiencing in that particular incident.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Sage. Maureen, I saw you had your camera. Are you?
Oh, well, I mean, I took the visioning class with you,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to say, I mean, I can't point it all to visioning, but I have definitely been having a spiritual opening like I've never had before.
Yeah.
And I must say, like, I feel like I'm in the oneness, but it's also like a little bit overwhelming. It's weird.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm so grateful for it, but I'm also like, whoa, this is a lot.
Yeah.
This is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
So,
So maybe a good question to ask. I have a couple good questions, but maybe a good question to ask as you're feeling this right now, right? You're opening, you're feeling it, you're recognizing that spirit is swooping in and filling out everything.
Uh-huh.
A good question is, how may I stay open and available and ready and willing to go here, to be here? How do I stay open, available, and willing?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? I see we have a few others who were in the visioning class. I don't know if anyone else wants to speak. Sherry, go ahead.
Yeah, I also did this before and with Constance, and I'm finding my answers are really different, and it's really fun to see. Yeah, I love what you just said about how may I stay open, available, and willing to go there, wherever the go there is. And I'm experiencing that in this energy medicine thing where we're being asked to work with imprints in our luminous energy field, in the field, the quantum field, before these imprints come in and create disease.
Yes.
And that is so beyond my ability right now to I mean, I'm going, what? You know, how can that possibly, how can you possibly do this? And then I'm running into my classmates who are practicing this like crazy and calling each other up and doing their imprints and they're clearing their energy fields. And so I get thrown back into my old ways of thinking. Oh, like Judith said, what am I doing? Can I do this? Is this something that I'm really supposed to be doing? And so this tonight is, I'm finding that, yeah, what must I become and embody for this ideal? And what's coming is open and calmly responsive, creative and trusting, and just letting things be, and the truth will unfold, you know, out of all of this. It just will. So it's not something to be chased or. I'm finding that the major tenets of shamanism and science of mind are identical, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it is all God. It is all the divine. So it's just whatever path to it and merging them. So I just came to some answer for myself right now. I don't know what that means, so thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you. So a question that arises for me as you were speaking is, what if I really can and do pay attention to those etheric fields? What if I can really block what causes disease before it gets to my physical frame? What if?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
I just got chills over my whole body, Sally, which you do every time.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you for that question.
All right. I see Krista's got her video on, and she was a class member with Constance and I.
Yes, and my kitty is threatening to join as well. Yeah, I really, I'm in the class, and so I feel like I had some skills coming into it, but I like where the spot you got us in before we started this, like connecting with a feeling of joy. So when it came to the part about what is God's highest vision for myself in this life, it was a lot about, feeling that joy and just really feeling the joy of being alive and with others, and sort of, generating or magnifying that sense of joy in all of us, and then what do I need to become? Not a lot of words there, but a lot of visuals and the feeling of being someone who brings the energy of love and joy and in just enjoying life. And what do I have to release? That came as words, and that was the self-doubt, preconceived notions of how my life is supposed to be, and fear.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I can see where I could apply this at work, where we're all very intense, and we're all very committed to making the world a better place, and we're all super, super intense about it. And there's a lot of workplace stress and tension, and I can be, you know, if I'm expressing my highest self and God's notion of itself as me, I'm not saying these words right, but that I can really be a force for positive in that situation, and help us all to kind of get in touch with the why we're doing it and the joy of life, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. That was lovely, lovely way to say it. All right. Anyone else have any questions or input? Any sharing of what must I become? What must I release? And you'll notice that I'm not asking you, what was your vision of God's highest idea of itself as your life? I didn't ask you that direct question. I'm asking you, what must you become and what must you release? Because it's in the releasing of that which no longer serves and the becoming of what you need to become to be that highest idea that you are living the highest idea of yourself, that as me, oneness, Christ consciousness. So it's really in those other questions. The first question is kind of a gateway, gets you going in the right direction, but it's easy for us to get caught up, as we taught in the class. It's easy for us to get caught up in the, oh, I had this tremendous vision and it was this and it was that. And that kind of takes us off from actually living it, because then we're filling in the blanks, right? Our brain is filling in the blanks of what that vision means. And we don't need to go there. We can be it. We can release what's not it and live it. So that's kind of the joy of visioning. All right, so I have one more question for you. And this question is one that you can use, and I encourage you to use it all the time, especially when things are really rotten. I mean, pissosity is way up here, sadness is way up here. What you ask yourself in those moments is, how does it get even better than this? How does it get even better than this? And in asking that question, the universe answers every single question you ask it affirmatively. So it is going to give you the answer. Oh, try this. Oh, try this. It will tell you how to make your life better. And so it is. Paul, back to you. Is Paul here? I'm not seeing Paul there.
He is here. We've been troubleshooting. Sorry.
Yeah,
Behind the scenes. We've been
yeah,
doing a
we
little
should have visioned on the Zoom call for Dr. Judith. That's what we should have done.
yeah. We've been a little busy back here.
Well, thank you,
Somehow
tech
she-
team.
Somehow she's locked out of this Zoom. Somehow, we don't know how. So she's listening on my cell phone. So I'm kind of like using old technology and new technology. So here's what's interesting, Sally. For my first question, I forget what your first question is. You know, what can I be, I guess. But the first one, and I got peacemaker, problem solver. And then my phone rings and it's Dr. Judith. Help me get back in the meeting. So see, everything's perfect.
Like that. No time in spirit.
Oh, geez, I would like a little recovery period, though. That would be helpful.
Okay,
you're
Paul,
gonna hear-
my word was vigilant. My word was vigilant. And then I get a chat from you. And I'm like, what?
Okay, so let's figure this out. So I hope she's not permanently banned, but
Mm.
Judith, if on Friday, are you coming to the annual meeting on Friday?
Yes,
Okay, I'm gonna talk
I
to.
hope.
Okay, so Judith is going to help me do the announcements. But first of all, before we get into that and we get back, let's get back on track. So thank you, Reverend Sally, for opening us up to a, well, I can't say it's a new tool anymore. Visioning is an old tool in science of mind, you know, in art at Oakland Center. But it's nice to refresh ourselves with that. And this is, you know, our theme for the month is about questioning. So being open to possibilities. So thank you for opening up that possibility for us tonight. Can we all show Reverend Sally some love? That would be really nice. Thank you. So I'm going to go into some announcements, and some of these are important around the annual meeting. At least one of them is. So I please stay tuned with me on this. Peter, are you back on with a battery in your car and all is good?
Yes, all good.
Okay, sir, if you could bring up the PowerPoint. See, I'm solving problems digitally. Just crazy. Or being open to possibilities digitally. So for more possibilities, join us on Sunday, March 7th, where do I have that right? Yes, Reverend Sally, you'll be speaking. Living in the question, a high idea. So I think you gave us a little taste of what's coming Sunday. Just a little bit. You primed the pump. We will also on Sunday, we'll also be welcoming, and some of them are on this call, the new members that came to the new members class. And we'll also be hearing from our March nonprofit partner, Prescott Circus. So this will be a joyful, informationful Sunday. Okay, so meditation is at 10 and service is at 10:30. And then next Wednesday, March 10th, practitioner Teresa Gardner will be back with us. This will be her second trip to speak, and she'll be speaking on open to possibilities. And that meditation, as you know, is at 6:30 and the service is at 7. Also, we talked about this during the social period, but for those that joined us, you know, we've been doing this 12 noon thing. Most people, I haven't, but I've already got my instructions to participate by Miss Dorothy. The Noon Spiritual Journey, which has been looking at Dr. Dan's book and hosted by practitioner emeritus Dodi Fernandez. It's so popular that we're continuing it into March, right, Reverend Sally?
Yes, sir.
And Dodi's going to take it this week, and then the following weeks, Sally and Reverend Sally and Constance and some other folks are going to form a team. And that's what we're calling this little message is facilitators needed for a noontime spiritual exploration to keep this going. So if you're interested, please contact Reverend Sally or Constance Chapman. This is your daily half-hour spiritual growth spurt. And I have been informed, not by the higher consciousness in the visioning, but from Miss Dorothy, who's even higher than that I need to attend. So I will start putting that on my calendar. So if you thought you missed it in February, it's going to be present in March. Also, our annual meeting is this Friday, and there will be no dinner. But it is this Friday at 7 o'clock, and we'll be welcoming new members. We will be electing a new board of directors, and we will be visiting some of the great things that happened in 2020. Now, you probably don't think that's a long list, but at Oakland Center, it's a long list. Many great things happened in 2020. One of them is our Wednesday nights, I think, is a great thing that still went on. no matter what, as well as our Sunday service. So we're celebrating a lot of greatness on Friday night. So please join the board of directors and the ecumenical leadership team as they present our annual meeting with lots of information. Now, if you're a voting member, check your email for the link to vote for those that are aspiring to fill the vacancies on the board, and get your voice heard by tomorrow. And if you're a new member from the new member class, you should be receiving that email tonight or tomorrow, because voting needs to close tomorrow night. Also, the way you will, this is the super important part, the way you will access getting to the annual meeting on Friday night is you will use the Sunday, like you're going to church on Sunday, link on the homepage. And Constance will be putting a big banner above that and say, that will direct you to do that. Use the Sunday link to get to the annual meeting. Okay, is that clear? Does anybody have a question about that? And please tell your friends and fellow practitioners and fellow ministry members, just as a little helpful communication tool, because I don't want anybody to miss the annual meeting. It's a really important part of our church family. So with that in mind, this Sunday, the Compassionate Attention to Lost Ministry Group will meet at 12:30 right after service. The theme for this month is Navigating Grief and Loss, Finding Your Spiritual Compass. The Zoom link is on the events page of the website. And Zoe is here tonight, so this is Zoe's group. So if you would like to be a part of that, Sunday at 12:30. Also, it's Women's History Month, and the Women's Spiritual Transformation Group will continue this Sunday with a session also at the same time. So get two great events going on at the same time to keep us busy and occupied. Also, the information for the access to this is on the events page. Now, save the date. A new class, Meditation is More Than You Think, will start Tuesday, March 23rd. And this is kind of like digging deep into meditation like we did with visioning, right, Reverend Sally? So here's an opportunity to go deeper. Meditation is More Than You Think, and it'll start Tuesday, March 23rd for 5 weeks. So if you've been wanting a stronger meditation practice, this course is for you. You'll learn and experience different forms of meditation and find the one that suits you best. Early registration starts next Wednesday. So check that out and watch for that announcement for early registration. And also remember to visit our Facebook page and give us a like. That's a standard thing. Just know that everything informational is through oaklandcsl.org. And that's where everything is, as you've already known. Tell your friends. We have so many things that are out there. The events page. We have the Village Facebook group link. We also have the YouTube channel. And if you know someone that's new and that wants more information about us, they can put on the homepage their email in the bottom left-hand corner and get on our mailing list for our weekly newsletter. Okay, lots going on. Also, I want to thank the Zoom team behind the scenes tonight. Constance is out there monitoring all of us. Peter, Sage, Alice, and of course the fabulous Miss Peggy Cotton. So thank you, team, for taking care of us behind the scenes. And at this time, I'd like to take a minute to talk about an offering. I call my financial contribution to the center something special. I treat it as something special because the word contribution is made up of 2 words, con meaning with, and tribute meaning in honor of, or in memory of, or in praise of. So when I give my financial investment into my home, my spiritual home, I give it with tribute. I'm actually honored and flattered to financially support the center. And I'm asking for those that feel like they need to do that and want to do that. It's a great way to show your alignment with what we do here. And it keeps the lights on, as Reverend E would say. So I'm honoring that by passing our little offering bowl around, our digital offering bowl, and receiving your offering. And I'm going to bless it at this time with our offering statement, if you'll join me. This gift I give is God in action. It does good work in the world and blesses creation. So bless you all for one, attending tonight and joining us, because that's a contribution, a physical contribution that I appreciate that you showed up for Reverend Sally and me and the Zoom team. As well as I'm grateful that we have a beautiful center to see and to appreciate, whether it's digitally or physically. It's still going along. So if you feel like you'd like to donate on where else, oaklandcsl.org, Information Central, the donate button for credit cards, or if you're into texting an amount, you can be prompted through that text number 510-327-3431, or you can send a check the way we used to always do it. So with that, I thank you for joining us tonight. And I love our Wednesday nights and our church family on Wednesday nights. And I know that Constance is available if you get hung up anything around the annual meeting. And I will be available on my cell phone if you get hung up trying to get into it. So feel free to contact me if you need any help. Okay, with that, you're welcome. Dr. Judith says good night. She's right here. Can you see my cell phone? Maybe if I hold it in for there, she's right there. So Sally, this is a new way of kind of adding another layer to
Sally,
the Zoom
pray us
call.
out.
Yeah. Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Sally and ask her to pray us out. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, everyone, I invite you to close your eyes and turn within. And as we do, I'm recognizing that there is one. And this one is infinite possibilities, boundless joy, overflowing love and peace and acceptance. It is good and very good. And I know that this good is my life. It is the life of each and every beloved on this call, whether they're here tonight or listening at some other time. I know that this good of God shows up in the world as each. And I am grateful. I am grateful for the exploration of questions. How does it get even better than this?
Amen.
Amen.